Mr. Maloney, seconded by Ms. Hutchins, moves that in the opinion of the House, the government should recognize the important contributions that Irish Canadians have made to building Canada and to Canadian society in general, and should mark the importance of educating and reflecting upon Irish heritage and culture for future generations by declaring the month of March as Irish Heritage Month. Debate the honourable member for Etobicoke Centre.
Etobicoke-Lakeshore, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Madam Speaker. And now the real reason I'm here. Madam Speaker, 2020 has been a year we will all remember. It's been a year that at times brought us together, and a year that challenged us as a nation in ways that we never thought possible. Now, it's always great to find a way we can come together in this chamber, and it's my hope that this motion will be one of those cases, a sentiment that has become more important within the last hour. Today, I ask this House for its support for my motion to recognize the month of March as Irish Heritage Month, and I am grateful that the honourable member from Saskatoon Grasswood, the honourable member from Riviera de Mille, as well as the honourable member from Elmwood Transcona will speak today. And of course, I would like to thank my colleague from Long Range Mountains, who hails from Newfoundland, which is about as close to Ireland as you can get without actually being there, Madam Speaker. To start and to be clear, this is not a motion to celebrate Irish ancestry as we do on March 17th. Rather, it's a motion to recognize the many contributions that Canadians of Irish descent have made in building this country into what it is today. It is to ask the Parliament of Canada to say thank you and to recognize how much they have contributed. Mr. Speaker, this is not to say they don't know, but it is to say that while making these contributions, the Irish community has displayed a level of modesty that I wish to recognize and to say thank you. They carry the pride of knowing how much they have contributed. Well, I want them to know that we know it too, Madam Speaker. Throughout this speech, I will do my best to make this point by talking about my country, my city, my family, and my friends. Mr. Speaker, we are a country of immigrants. One of those immigrant communities is the Irish, and it is the one from everyone knows that I come. There are many stories to choose from, Madam Speaker, from across this country, but I'm going to speak briefly about my own. In 1840, three brothers, Patrick, Michael, and James, arrived in Canada. They settled in a beautiful place not far from here called Mount St. Patrick in the heart of the Ottawa Valley. My father spoke fondly of visiting many times to a place called Maloney Mountain. I never made it there with my dad, which I always regret. Then 3 years ago, the St. Patrick's Parish celebrated its 175th anniversary, and I went at the invitation of my friend Rob Jameson. It was a special occasion. I saw Maloney Mountain, and I found the resting place of those three brothers. Well, those brothers were my ancestors, and my father was clearly proud of our heritage because he has three sons, and he named them Patrick, Michael, and the honourable member from Etobicoke-Lakeshore. Now, I'm far from alone, Madam Speaker, in having Irish heritage. According to the latest census data, over 4.6 million Canadian residents lay claim to an Irish ethnic connection. This is 14% of our total population, higher even than the proportion of Irish Americans in the U.S. The influence of the Irish heritage in Canada and the depth of their affinity with Ireland is the preeminent factor in Ireland's successful nurturing of its relationship with Canada over the decades. Our Irish population almost matches Ireland itself. A number of high-profile Canadians have been actively involved over the years in the Irish peace process, including General John de Chastelain, former Defence Chief of Staff, former Police Ombudsman for Northern Ireland Al Hutchison. Other notable Canadians who contributed to the peace process include Lord Justice Hoyt, Professor Clifford Shearing, and Mr. Justice Peter Corey. There are many Canadians of Irish ancestry who form part of the Canadian political establishment. Too many to name here, but some of them are here. They represent all parties, and some have risen to great heights. I think of our former Finance Minister, the late Jim Flaherty. Two of our current cabinet ministers regularly remind me that they have Irish blood flowing through their veins. We've had prime ministers, Madam Speaker. Paul Martin, Brian Mulroney, of course, and Madam Speaker, our current Prime Minister comes from Irish heritage, a fact I validated on a trip to Dublin not just 3 years ago. And of course, I have to mention one of Canada's founding fathers, Thomas D'Arcy McGee. Ireland and Canada share the same values. We have a long history of promoting democratic values and human rights. Over the years, we have cooperated closely in these areas at the UN and elsewhere, both in challenging times for global democracy and political stability and during times of great peace. Madam Speaker, the political friendship between our two countries is strong. Just last week, I had a call in my capacity as chair of the Canada-Ireland Interparliamentary Group with my Irish counterpart, and we were discussing the ways in which we could safely explore how to strengthen this bond in the COVID environment and after. Our economic relationship is strong because of CETA and our own bilateral economic agreements. A few words on that, Mr. Speaker. The economic ties are important. Just as the cultural and historic bonds that exist between us are strong, CETA is eliminating tariffs. In the first year of its provisional operation prior to COVID-19, trade between Canada and Ireland increased by 1/3. Ireland presents a great opportunity for Canadian business and investment in the coming years, and Ireland is the perfect gateway to the 450 million people in the European Union. The number of jobs provided by Canadian companies in Ireland has grown by 25% since 2018, and the number of new Canadian companies expanding into Ireland has more than doubled since Brexit was passed. Well, we think it's passed. But we've been in Ireland a long time. In fact, the first Canadian company in Ireland was Canada Life in 1903. With over a century of Canadian investment in Ireland, other notable Canadian companies in Ireland include Couche-Tard, Brown Thomas, Irving Oil, and Air Canada, just to name a few. As far as Ireland and Canada, the value of Ireland's trade surplus to Canada is over $2.1 billion. Canada is Ireland's 12th largest trade partner and the 4th largest outside of the EU, and as at the end of 2018, the stock of Canadian direct investment abroad in Ireland reached almost $15 billion, ranking Ireland as the 10th largest destination for direct investment abroad. We have a Blue Skies agreement, and currently Aer Lingus, WestJet, Air Canada, and Air Transat operate daily flights between the two countries. We have a double taxation treaty for the avoidance of double taxation and the prevention of fiscal evasion with respect to taxes on income and capital gains. Madam Speaker, cultural collaborations are endless. In 2021, Ireland and Canada will make a joint application for UNESCO heritage status for the Valentia Island Cable Station and Cable Station in Heart's Content, Newfoundland. These sites mark the first successful transatlantic cable was laid in 1867, thus revolutionized global communications. We have an Ireland-Canada co-production treaty to encourage the co-development of audio-visual content between producers from Canada and Ireland, signed in Ottawa in 2017, and I had the honor of being there. And of course, our roots run deep, back in time. It is no secret that Canada became a refuge for Irish immigrants from 1830 onwards. The immigration started at a time when major cholera and smallpox epidemics were prevalent. Ships flying the flag of disease were forced to dock at the quarantine station at Grosse Ile, downriver from Quebec City. Many Quebecois were eager to help them in their hour of need. Doctors, nurses, Montreal's Grey Nuns volunteered to treat the sick arrivals, risking their own lives in the process. For many Irish immigrants, it would be the only glimpse of the new land. In 1847, 50 people a day died of typhus. Many children whose parents died were adopted into French-Canadian families, but their Irish names lived on: Doyle, Murphy, Ryan, Johnson. Their descendants are among the 40% of Quebecois who claim Irish ancestry. Another Canadian destination was Toronto. During the summer of 1847, almost 100,000 migrants left Ireland, with over 38,000 arriving in Toronto with a population of 20,000 at the time. Think about that, Madam Speaker. Almost double the population arrived on the shores of Toronto over a period of a few months. Toronto opened its arms to those immigrants. Dr. George Grissett and his team set up hospital, or fever sheds as they came to be known, and provided essential medical services, and in doing so, Dr. Grissett and many other Canadian nurses, doctors, and hospital orderlies lost their own lives when they contracted typhus. The Ireland Park Foundation remembers the legacy of kindness with Dr. Grissett, which will open in Toronto in 2021, and I was proud to be part of advocating for that project. This is in addition to Ireland Park, which was established earlier with the support of the Canadian and Irish governments. Both of these commemorative sites were built by the Irish community, and I want to thank Robert Kierans in particular. Working-class Irish immigrants soon became the largest ethnic group in almost every city in Canada. It wasn't always easy. They faced challenges, as all newcomers do. These challenges were racial, religious, and economic, but they persevered, Madam Speaker. It's a testament to their strength and values. There's no shortage of evidence in every province and every town. They found working they found work building many of our country's iconic landmarks. Irish immigrants helped to build the Rideau Canal, the Lachine Canal, and St. Patrick Basilica in Montreal, as well as the colorful heritage buildings in St. John's, Newfoundland, just to name a few. Approximately 14,000 Irish citizens moved to Canada each year during the last recession, whether on a temporary or more permanent basis. Irish-inspired events occur across the country, include the Fella Seamus Cray Music Festival in St. John's, Newfoundland, and the Celtic Colours International Festival in Cape Breton, Nova Scotia. The month of March in Toronto is busy, to say the least. Most people think March Madness is a basketball tournament. I can assure you they're referring to Toronto in March. The month starts with the raising of the Irish flag at Toronto City Hall. The community comes in droves, again, not to put on party hats and put on green sweaters. They're there to remember all those who worked so hard to give them the opportunity they now have. The Irish Person of the Year then kicks off celebrating a person from the Irish community who's been a leader dedicated to the benefit of others. With well over 1,000 people, the Ireland Fund Lunch, another event, is the world's largest Irish luncheon. Madam Speaker, there are parades, of course, and there are too many to mention, but I do want to give a shout out to my friend Sean Ruddy, who has not just kept the Toronto Parade alive, but thriving. The Irish Canadian Immigration Centre welcomes all new arrivals to this day and is named after the late and truly great Eamon O'Loughlin. The Irish People Players Theatre Group also makes sure that the Irish culture is preserved and shared with the rest of our community. The folk music of Canada owes a great debt to musicians of Irish descent, particularly in Newfoundland, Ontario, Nova Scotia, and New Brunswick. In fact, most Canadian folk songs take their inspiration from centuries-old Irish tunes and follow Irish verse patterns. Alan Doyle of Great Big Sea fame is just one example of a Canadian musician who can claim Irish roots. Stompin' Tom Connors, Denny Doherty and the Mamas and the Papas, Leahy and the next generation Leahy all came from families of Irish descent. Radio programs keep the spirit alive and help maintain the strong link between our two great nations. In Toronto, Ken Tracy and Mark O'Brien nurse us through our Saturday mornings, and Hugo Straney raises our spirits early on Sunday. St. Patrick's Day is a statutory holiday in Newfoundland and Labrador, but this day commemorating Irish contributions is held throughout Canada every year. Canada is home to many celebrations on March 17th, but one of the most prominent being Montreal's St. Patrick's Day, the oldest of its kind in North America. Mr. Speaker, the point is the Irish Heritage Month is not about green beer, funny hats, or shamrocks. It's about honoring the close bond between our two countries that is deep in our past and is about celebrating a bright future between our two countries. I simply don't have enough time today to cover it all, but there will be a second reading. There are several people I need to thank for getting me here today and helping me along the way with my own Irish awakening. Recently and locally, I would like to say thank you to our Irish ambassadors. Ray Bassett welcomed me upon my election in 2015. Jim Kelly stewarded me through the past 4 years. Together, we created the annual Irish Night on Parliament Hill. This never would have happened without his guidance and support. And today, we are grateful to welcome Ambassador Eamon McKee. These men arrive here as ambassadors to Canada, and they leave here as great friends to this country and many who live here. And of course, there's Ethna Heffernan, the Grand Dame of the Irish community in Toronto. I've mentioned my own family, who, like me, are proud of the Irish heritage, like my brothers, Caitlin, Brogan, Kira, and Tegan, my nieces and nephews. Last and not least are my in-laws. I want to mention two in particular. First, Eddie, my father-in-law. He's the epitome of all things Irish. He is kind, he is generous, he is funny, he is modest, and he is proud of his Irish heritage. He's also a source of wisdom. He reminds me many occasions that if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. Mr. Speaker, there are people who are players in our community, and there are people who are spectators. I can assure you Eddie Brett is a player, not a spectator. Every Irish dad wants his Irish offspring to find an Irish partner. Well, Dad, I did it. And she's the best. Deirdre Brett is more than that. She's my friend and my anchor, and I'm lost without her. So, Mr. Speaker, it is clear to me that this country would not be what it is today without a great contribution from our Irish community, both past and present. In true Canadian fashion, they love the country where they were born, and they love the country in which they chose to build a new life. I stand here in this chamber today to say thank you as a profoundly grateful person of Irish heritage. So again, I ask this House and all its members to support this motion, and as an expression of that gratitude, to declare the month of March from this point forward as Irish Heritage Month in Canada. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Questions and comments? Questions et commentaires? L'honorable député de
The Honourable Member for Rivière-des-Mille-Îles. Well, thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I'd like to thank my honourable colleague for his remarks. In a few moments, I'll have an opportunity to make a speech of my own, and I have a question for him. Ireland raises the triple aspect with respect to sovereignty, with respect to the Republic, the UK and Europe. I'd like to hear my colleague comment on that, if you could say a few words about that aspect.
The honourable member for Etobicoke-Lakeshore.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you to my honourable friend for that important question. I mean, it raises a complex set of issues, as I believe he knows, Madam Speaker. Ireland, the north of Ireland, and the UK have a unique relationship. That relationship is being tested right now through the Brexit process and the ongoing negotiations. Answering that question in the amount of time I have right now is simply not possible. And frankly, I'm not sure that it's possible to answer in the short term in any event, given matters continue to be discussed and will be resolved in due course, we hope. Thank you.
Questions and comments? The honourable member for Elgin, Middlesex, London.
I would like to thank the member. I can tell you that there'll be a lot of Irish folks in my community that will really appreciate that. And so this is great. But is there a recipe for green beer? That's all I need to know.
Honourable member for Etobicoke-Lakeshore.
Well, the easy answer is to say I only drink it, I don't make it. But so I think it's food coloring. That's the honest answer. But you know, to your point, there will be a lot of Irish people who are very proud of this. Somebody asked me recently what this means. I said it doesn't confer on rights on anybody that they don't already have, but it's a recognition of this great contribution that Irish Canadians have made to this country, and we want to show them how proud we are. Thank you for the question.
Questions and comments? The honourable member for Elmwood-Transcona.
Thank you very much, and thank you to the member for bringing this forward today. He did make mention of the fact that that it is a bit of a trying time right now with Brexit and the border between the United Kingdom and the Republic of Ireland. And I know that Canada was, you know, played an important role in getting towards the Good Friday Agreement and getting that implemented. We're on the cusp right now of cementing a new trade relationship with the United Kingdom, and I wonder if he wants to offer some reflections on what role Canada can play in trying to have a positive influence on outcomes at the border between Ireland and Northern Ireland.
Member for Etobicoke-Lakeshore.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to thank my honourable friend for this question. He and I had the occasion to travel to Ireland and the north of Ireland a few years ago, where we had first-hand exposure to the issues he's talking about. The Good Friday Agreement he refers to is the agreement which, frankly, is holding the ground firm so that as part of the Brexit negotiations and as the Brexit negotiations move forward, that there continues to be no hard border between the north of Ireland and Ireland itself. That issue is of incredible importance to people who live in Ireland and to this moment, and we will see by the end of this calendar year the true strength of that agreement and the true strength of the resolve of the Irish people in making sure that that stays the case. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Question, the honourable member for Miramichi Grand Lake.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'd like to congratulate my colleague from Etobicoke-Lakeshore for this great initiative. Mr. Speaker, thousands of families from my region of Miramichi, including my own, have Irish roots. That is why we claim the title of Irish Capital of Canada. Miramichi has also Canada's longest-running Irish festivals, including the celebration for St. Patrick's Day. Would my honourable colleague agree that Irish descendants from my region and across the country will be totally on board to celebrating their heritage for the full month of March? Thank you, Madam Speaker. Very
brief answer from the member for Etobicoke-Lakeshore.
I have no doubt that the his constituents will take great pride in this motion passing and will take full advantage of celebration in the month of March. The only thing I might say is where I come from, people might take issue about which region is the most Irish, if I can put it that way. I will leave it this way: we all are, and we are all here to celebrate Irish across Canada. So thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you for the question.